Hi, this is our video on woody stem morphology. Morphology is the external characteristics of a stem. We're going to go through some basics here. So here I have a stem from a black walnut. All the growing points are called buds. We have buds at the end, or terminal buds here. And then down the stem we have lateral buds, meaning they're arranged laterally down the stem. Underneath each bud we have what's called a leaf scar. Right there is the leaf scar. That's where the leaf was attached. If you look closely, I'm not sure if it's in focus, but there are three little dots. Those are called vascular bundle traces. That's where the water and carbohydrates move into and out of the leaf. Here we have little things called lentisols. That's how the stems breathe. What else on this stem? That's about it on this one. Most terminal buds are flower buds. Here's a really good example of that. This is a flowering dogwood, Cornus florida. We can see how unique the buds are at the end here. We call those little biscuit buds, or they look like onions. These other smaller buds, these are the vegetative buds, so these are going to grow leaves. These are going to grow leaves for next year compared to the flower buds that will be produced. Here's a ornamental pear. A lot of your fruiting trees like pears and apples bloom on spurs. Spurs will be a shortened, modified branch. Every year they only grow about 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch, and they produce flower buds on the end. This pear is just about ready to bloom here. This is called bud break, is the stage it's at right now. And so it's moving along. Here's stem from a this is a Kentucky coffee tree, actually. Again, really large leaf scars because the leaves on this tree are very big. They can be up to 2 feet or more long and have many, many leaflets. So there's a lot of weight to support. A lot of prominent lentisols on this one you can see. Here's another unique thing to show you. Many people know burning bush, of course. That's a favorite for a lot of people. Not necessarily mine, but a lot of other people. First, the stems are green, and then they have these quirky wings on them. That's pretty unique. There's not too many plants that have those. Bur oak will have those. Sweet gum, and then, of course, the burning bush. Here's something that's going to be difficult to possibly show you. So this is a red maple. And you can see, so this was last year's growth, and right here where you see the color change, see if I can magnify this a little bit. Woo, yeah, we got it. So those little rings right there, those are called a terminal bud scale scar. So in other words, last year that's where the terminal bud was, and that bud broke and it grew just a few inches, but it did grow that much. You can determine the health of a plant by using these, or how old a branch is. So if I go back, my fingers, my thumb right there is where it was 2024. If I go back and look for another one, there it is. That's 2023. So to see all those rings, those are the scar that's left from the scales. Buds have these little scales on them to protect them. Some have many scales, some only have one scale, some are actually naked because they have no scales. It depends on the plant. There's a terminal bud scale scar you can see. So that's from last spring, 2024. It's spring of 2025 right now that I'm doing this. So you can kind of see small lentisols on the maple, but kind of interesting there. Let's see, what else do we have? This is oak. A lot of oaks are unique because they have buds clustered at the end like this. This has got a lot of scales, you can see. That's called imbricate, when it's many scaled, all the little brown things. So again, when that bud starts to grow in the spring, it'll leave scars from all those scales that we call the terminal bud scale scar. Our oaks are unique in this bud. We have a lot of different oaks that grow around here, at least a half a dozen. So even in the winter, you can typically know that you're looking at an oak just because of the way the buds are clustered. The other thing you can tell is, not all the time, but when we get to the leaf ID, oaks are separated into the white oak group and the red oak group. White oak group had rounded lobes on the leaves, and if you notice, these buds are rather rounded, and this is from an actual white oak. One more bud I have here is from, these are called catkins. This is on a birch. Birch have this, hop hornbeam have this, filberts have these. Not a whole lot of plants, that's why it's pretty unique when you see them. These are actually the male flowers. The female flower buds are down here on the laterals. And again, we'll talk about that when we talk about flower morphology and reproduction in a different video. Again, you can kind of see the tiny white lenticels. Again, a little out of focus, but these are hard to get in focus because they're so small. There you can see the lenticels. And of course, my forsythia fell off. Hold on. So forsythia is different. Again, a lot of plants have the terminal buds, our flower buds, and lateral buds are vegetative or leaves and stems. Forsythia have flower buds all down the stem. That's why, of course, everybody loves forsythia in the spring because it's a sign that spring is here. And so it's kind of unique. Flower bud location is really important when we talk about things like pruning, because if you shear a plant that has terminal flower buds, you cut those off, the plant won't bloom next year, right? So again, we talked in the plant science video about, it's not magic. These buds were formed last year in 2024, and on this pair that we already looked at, those are flower buds. The tissue is already there. It doesn't just grow now. So if those were on the end of the stem and you happen to cut those off, right, you're not going to have flowers the next year. Now, you might still have leaves because the vegetative buds are okay, and that sometimes happens with forsythia. If you get a really cold winter, sometimes the flower buds are killed, but the vegetative buds will continue to grow. Another thing kind of unique, I'm not sure how well you can see this. Do you see that edge right there? So this has got 4 sides. It's like a square stem. So one of our little buzzwords is 4-sided forsythia because it has a 4-sided stem. Also has really prominent lenticels. So hopefully that's most everything on stem morphology. I did forget the pith. I'll try and maybe show you that another time.